Cougars with all 11 dudes in the box, though. Pocos left side, and he burst through. Pocos to the second level and beyond. It is a foot race inside the 20. Kiss him goodbye. Touchdown, St. Paul. 64-yard scamper on a 4th down and 1.
Kiss Pocos goodbye. You can kiss us hello here on the Friday Night Pigskin. Welcome in here to our world headquarters in downtown Mansfield, Ohio. My name is Brian Skoronsky. We got a jam-packed show per usual coming up for you guys. Didn't have a lot of games, at least in terms of the score, that were really close tonight, but we had very many big pivotal contests that went down. Even a few surprising games, including our first highlight of the night. And with that, we're going to bring in Garrett Parlett, who was at a WCAL showdown. Hillsdale, then off to a pretty nice start, looking for a nice bounce-back win. And against Waynedale, you'd think a team that's been struggling all year, this would be an easy one, but that was definitely not the case in this one, was it, G-Man?
No, I was kind of surprised when I got there, and it was a tighter game than expected. Coming in, I thought maybe Hillsdale would kind of run away with this one, but let's check out the highlights and kind of see how they got it done. But it was no easy feat for Hillsdale. They went on the road on Waynedale's senior night. He tried to hit his receiver here, Brian. Brady Heller would rip this thing away.
Okay.
Get 84 yards to the crib on a wide receiver screen. And I thought, well, here we go. The Falcons going to pull away. They go up 7-0 early. But Cole Lewis and Jaden Zurcher over the middle for 38 yards. It's 7-7. These two were a dynamic duo all night long. Hillsdale would have a long drive. Owen Sloan punched in from a yard out and claw back up to 14-7. The tide would turn here before the half. A pump fake here, double move, going deep. Back to Zurcher, 60 yards out. It's all knotted at 14. And then this one would be a pivotal play before the half. Hillsdale's Jack Fickett trying to do too much here. The defensive line getting after him. He's going to plant his feet, just try to make a play. This was on 4th down too. And it's going to be picked off, Brian. And this puppy's going 84 yards all the way back to the barn. And Waynedale was up at half, 21-14. I was kind of shell-shocked. I thought Hillsdale was really going to pull away. Waynedale just one win on the season. But here comes Jack Fickett, and that offensive line churning like butter. A touchdown here for Fickett. He'd get another one, and that offensive line and Jack Fickett would prevail 28-21. And a nail-biter, Brian.
And in the biggest moments, your big-time players tend to step up. Jack Fickett looked like he was that guy in the second half, so clearly a slow start. Was he the dude that kind of got the straw mixing around the drink there in half number 2?
Well, I think statistically in the stat category in the box score, he's going to get the love, but I think it's really the offensive line. And Trevor Klein, at his post-game, with the team, he mentioned the offensive line. They got the ball back and with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they churned the entire quarter out and didn't allow Waynedale another opportunity to get the ball. So I think my hat goes to the offensive line. I'm an offensive line guy, so I got to give those guys loves. But Jack Fickett, of course, with his 2 scores, and that Hillsdale defense, too, not allowing any scores in the second half.
I think a few people around the area, including maybe even myself, as far as the playoff picture is concerned, kind of counting out the Falcons a little bit just because they put that bad taste in our mouth. We saw what Doughton was able to do with them, and then Norwayne, of course, 2 blowout victories. But for them, 2 more games left, G-Man. They got 1-7 Northwestern next week, and then they host Rittman, who's 5-3 right now. Do you see them running a table, being 8-2, and then hosting in Week 11?
Well, I think this was a great wake-up call to him. You know, going against a one-win team in Waynedale on the road, you can't take anybody for granted. Anybody can beat anybody on any given night. You got to go in there. You know, you got to be prepared, and you got to put on your best performance to try to get a win. And they got 1-7 coming up on the schedule, and then 5-3, of course. But I think those teams in the WCRL, like the Norwaynes, they're a little bit different. Like Dalton, I don't think Hillsdale's a great team. I think they're a pretty good team. I think they might be able to make some noise, but those top-tier class, like Dalton, I don't know if they're going to be able to touch them.
And I see, obviously, fall's starting to set in clearly because you got the beard game going strong, my friend. Tell me about just maintaining that thing, because it looks like you got a couple bushes up there on the old cheeks.
Yeah, this is definitely the longest I've ever had it. I don't like it, but I'm trying to keep growing it out until I absolutely can't do it anymore. But I mean, it's not my favorite. It's kind of something to deal with. That it's kind of annoying, but hey, it gets the job done, I guess.
Well, as producer Adam pointed out, you are in Wayne County, surrounded by the Amish, so it's just kind of fitting in with your surroundings a little bit right now, buddy. I don't think it looks too bad. I kind of dig it.
Appreciate it. I can't grow the mustache, so so it kind of does look like an Amish beard.
Little bit. All right, G-Man, thanks for the time, man. Looks like you're already in your room, so just off to bed, Is that the next move?
Yeah, I'm gonna punch away on this highlight, and then it's night.
Seamless transition. All right, Garrett Parlett joining us from his crib out there in Wootown. And we're going to keep it all here in the studio next as we'll bring Andy Jardy into the conversation. He was over at Bob Wine Field. Lucas looking to bounce back. They had a 4-game win streak just ended and probably had the perfect opponent to do it against tonight, Andy.
Yeah, that certainly was the case tonight, taking on a Plymouth team that has struggled this year defending the run. Well, that's what Lucas is very good at doing. So not a good matchup on paper, and it proved to be that way on the field as well, as we'll show you in the highlights here tonight. We start things off, as always, in the first quarter. Cubs get on the board first as Zach Deal takes it in from 8 yards out. It's 7-0. Lucas, we'll be saying his name a couple more times here throughout this highlight. After an onside kick, the Cubs are going to pull out all the tricks. Jackson to Grover, who then throws it downfield.
Where's the defense?
Deal again? Are you kidding me? This ain't your dad's Lucas team. They're passing the ball. It's 14-0 Cubs. Still in the first quarter. Daniel Hawkinsmith is going to get in on the touchdown frenzy. He takes it in from 3 yards out, and probably the hardest 3 yards ever with how he got tackled there. 21-0 Cubs. Second quarter, Grayson Jackson is going to throw it? What is this? What game am I at tonight? 24 yards to a diving Zachary Winters. 28-0 Cubbies.
Bonkers.
After a Plymouth fumble, Deal touchdown number 3. This gets us a running clock in the second quarter. I didn't know that was a thing, but it can happen apparently. 35-0 at the half. Third quarter, it's already 42-0 Lucas, but Plymouth gets on the board. Take a look at this throw. Lincoln Distal to Lane Bushy. 83-yard touchdown pass. Definitely a bright spot for Plymouth there. That's the freshman quarterback, by the way, chucking that one up. I mean, that ball was thrown like 30 yards downfield, and then all the yards after catch. Lucas, though, wraps it up here. A 71-yard touchdown run. Tim Daly, we started to call his name a couple weeks ago, Brian. He comes through tonight with 2 touchdowns. Cubbies win big on homecoming tonight, 49-14.
I think probably most notable from your highlight is the absence of the homecoming king on homecoming night. Where's Logan Toms, man? It looks like obviously Lucas found some depth on offense.
Yeah, so Logan, I think we've always kind of wondered with this Lucas team, if Logan Toms is struggling, where do they go to find their offense? Well, tonight we saw Deal step up big. Hawkinsmith had a touchdown. Tim Daly had a couple touchdowns as well. They really emptied out the bench here tonight against Plymouth, and we saw some freshmen get in late in the fourth quarter and have some successful runs too. So they do not rebuild at Lucas. They reload, and we saw that on effect here tonight.
Yeah, going for 10 straight trips to the postseason, Andy. And in order to do that, of course, at least if they want to put themselves in a position where they're playing at home, where they're so good on Friday nights, they got to beat a pair of 5-3 teams down the stretch. But they do have both of those at Bob Wine Field. So just give me some ideas about, kind of the playoff picture for the Cubs and how you see it playing out.
Yeah, so after the win tonight, they moved up to 10th in their division, in their region. So 2 more spots up, and they will be hosting. The top 8 will host in that first round. So they are right there kind of on the bubble of hosting. You get 2 home games with 2 teams that are 5-3, Fort Loramie and then Arlington. If they win both of those, I think it's very feasible that Lucas will be hosting a playoff game in a couple weeks, which is crazy to think that the playoffs are just a few weeks away. But we are so close, and it's so exciting this time of the year.
Are you predicting the Cubs at home in Week 11, Jardo?
I think I have to. They impressed me tonight again with how they were able to do things without Logan Toms carrying the bulk of the load in the offensive backfield there. They'll be hosting in a few weeks because I think they're going to win both of those games at home, and that should get them enough over the hump there to get that home field advantage.
Travis, Lucas still the best 3-loss team in Division 7?
Yes.
He says yes.
You're talking about playoffs. The only way they will host is if they win out. If they lose one, they're going to need a lot of help. They need to win out, but they haven't officially clinched yet. But do you know who has officially clinched?
Who's
we already
in there?
did their highlight. The Hillsdale Falcons. Both Hillsdale and Lucas went out. They host, but Hillsdale with enough points, they have already clinched a playoff spot. They are dancing once again. 2 of the longest playoff streaks in the area going at it right now. Lucas, they should get in there, but if both teams want to host, they got to win out.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great segue because in our next highlight, we're going to show you a team that's been to the postseason every single year since 2012, and that being the Norwalk St. Paul Flyers on the road tonight at Crestview. This becoming quite a big rivalry, even though the Flyers traditionally have kind of owned this head-to-head. Cougars, though, had a lot to play for tonight on senior night. And here they come out. I mean, the crowd was lit. I really felt like this was a fantastic atmosphere. Everything appeared pregame like Crestview was going to be potentially in the driver's seat, but instead it's Josh Pokos leading St. Paul on an 80-yard touchdown drive. He caps it off with the 6-yarder, and then you saw this on the call of the night earlier, 67-yard burst on a 4th down. That was probably the biggest play of the game because if Crestview can stop him there, maybe it's a totally different outcome. But then Ben Berger putting some condiments on it as he gets down the sideline, 56-yard touchdown run. It's 21-0 in the second quarter. Now they're going to the sky. This is the first completion of the night. Ashton Stang makes it count as he looks like a Mustang, throwing Cougars to the turf to make it 27-0. But later on in the third quarter, Aiden Raymer, only points of the night for Crestview. They actually got a 3-and-out after that, got the ball back, and then they fumbled, leading to this. Ben Berger, 60 yards. He's going to get ghost. This is early in the 4th, and that would kind of put a knot on this game. 33-7. St. Paul, a victor yet again on the road. And Crestview, had they beaten them tonight, it would have been the first time ever, Travis, that a Crestview team could beat St. Paul 3 times. Yeah. So it just kind of shows you how much they've been in control of this back and forth.
Yeah, you just think the way they have been winning so far. I'm actually surprised at the beginning of the year how St. Paul started. Really confused on how they'd be, but then they just continued playing St. Paul football. Now they're at the top of the Firelands Conference. They're making their way up. D7 Region 25, right now they're 13th. They control their own destiny. So does Crestview still, though, because Crestview has Western Reserve, who has, I think, 6 wins, and then Mapleton, who has 4 wins. So even if Crestview wins out, they could still squeak into the playoffs, but right now it's St. Paul's conference to lose, but they still got another team that's undefeated there in Monroeville as well, who won big tonight and still undefeated in the Firelands Conference.
Very impressed with what I saw from Josh Pokos tonight, Trav. I'm going to throw some footage up for you because you just got to see this dude in action. He was more than the long touchdown runs. It just seems like he's always getting downhill. Every single time he touches the football, this kid was special. He didn't need a lot of touches to go well over 150 yards. When he gets down the sideline, he's a bruiser too, always looking for contact. He's not one of those that's going to scamper out of bounds. He's going to try to get 2-3 extra, time in, time out. And with the style of play that they do, a la Lucas, where they line up with a couple of tight ends, 3 running backs in the backfield, I think this guy, now that they've got it rolling, you talked about the 0-3 start, but against teams that have a combined only 3 losses so far,
absolutely.
I think this team's actually pretty good.
And if it wasn't for those 3 really tough defensives they've gone up against, he's probably in the top 10 in our stat leaders. He's just outside of it because of the slow start that the whole team's had. But if he can keep putting up numbers like this, he might be slipping into that top 10 in the last couple weeks of the season. But it's all about peaking at the right point. If you slip into the playoffs, it's about peaking at the right point. We saw that with a Clyde team a few years ago when it was still 8 teams in the playoffs. They came in at the 8th seed. They knocked off Shelby. They went on that run, won a state championship. It's all about peaking at the right time once you've clinched a playoff spot.
And let's talk about now the Firelands Conference standings, because coming up here in 2 weeks, you don't want to overlook anybody, but of course, St. Paul's undefeated in the league, as is Monroeville, and something's got to give. They're going to play each other in Norwalk, Travis. What a monster game that's going to be. Everybody else pretty much out of the picture now, because they would have to have both Monroeville and St. Paul lose 2 games. That can't happen. Somebody's got to win in Week 10.
Yeah, and that's surprisingly, it's a Friday night in Norwalk. Because the Truckers are on the road, so they get a rare Friday night game at home. But that's a lot of playoff points on the line there. And since we have our Firelands Conference up real quick, Monroeville has clinched. They knocked off Mapleton tonight. They are in there. They're sitting at 7th, right behind Hillsdale. That's another sneaky good team. They have a couple really good running backs. Their quarterback, Evan Benfer, and then Landon Roeder as well. It's looking like those two head-to-head, the running attack of Monroeville versus the running attack of St. Paul. And now we've seen both of these teams play Crestview as well, and we've seen both of these running attacks go over it. So I think this is going to be a really good battle here that not only decides the Firelands Conference, but it's probably going to decide who gets a home game in Week 11.
And I got recruited in the comment section tonight to do that game in Week 10.
I mean, that's
I think we got to be there, Trav.
I think we do, man. That's going to be one of the marquee games, especially in the small school ranks for the Firelands Conference and Divisions 6 and 7. It's looking like it's going to be a good one.
No question about that. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got 2 highlights coming up, both featuring some Jungle Cats. I've got a pair of Tigers. First, we'll have Galion at Pleasant, followed by Seneca East at Mohawk. And then we'll show you guys who was your week number 7 winner for both the Phenom and the top play of the week. Stay tuned.
At Knox Community Hospital, your primary care physician is more than someone who delivers your test results, more than someone who writes prescriptions, more than someone who listens to your heart. We are your healthcare partner who takes the time to know you, listen to your concerns, and provide you with expert personalized care to make and keep you well. Because to us, you're more than just numbers on a chart. You're a neighbor and a friend. Knox Community Hospital, in the community, for the community.
I know that we are the official live stream provider for the KMAC conference, but you guys out there, the fans, you got to give yourselves a pat on the back, because as far as the top plays in the Phenoms are concerned, the KMAC has definitely been king, and it is no exception again in week number 7. We'll begin by showing you who won your Friday Night Phenom. Go ahead and hit it. Your Friday Night Phenom from week number 7, no stranger to the list. Walker Weckeser and Danville have been rolling the competition this season. He does it on both sides of the football, nearly flawless throwing that thing. 135 through the air, 41 more on the ground, and how about 5 tackles, 3 touchdowns, plus he had an interception. Very worthy winner in week number 7, Mr. Walker Weckeser. We are not worthy, sir. Congratulations on earning yet another big-time victory for the Danville Blue Devils. And for your top play, well, you already know it's going to be KMAC, but which play was it? With an astounding 45% of the vote, you guys all decided that Cameron Goldbach of Northmor was the play of the week. The diving tip drill INT. So good, you got to see it a second time in slow-mo. Look at the big fella getting down and making the huge play for the Golden Knights for the top play of the week. And now back to week 8 we go. Galion, they definitely needed a big win tonight. They were on the road at Pleasant. I think you could argue for both of these teams in terms of the MOAC standings might be out of it, but for the playoff picture, this was a big time contest, and it came down to the wire, just a 1-point game. We'll show you how. It would start with Owen Lowry with a 4-yard pass here to Aiden Smith. 7-zip, 27 seconds left in the first quarter, but Brennan Van Buskirk picks off Braxton Prosser in the red zone, but Prosser would later fumble. It's recovered by Pleasant, and in the third, Galion kicking an onside kick here. They would get it. Prosser, 39-yard pass to Jacob Chambers early on in the third quarter. This made it 7-7. Awesome snag right there, right in front of our own Justin Wilson for the tutty. Galion going to go on top later on. Here's Prosser, 25-yard run, but they are going to, on the PAT try, just doink it. It's off of the upright. That would be huge. It's 13-7 at that point, and as we fast forward you to the fourth, Lowry gets in, making it 14-13 early on in the quarter. They would make their PAT, and then down the stretch, things got a little bit finicky, but Pleasant able to hold on and keep Galion out of field goal range for the duration of the night. We'll bring Travis back into the conversation now, and we'll check out those MOAC standings as well, because I think that we see Ontario obviously sitting at the top, and then a lot's happened here in the last couple of weeks, Trav, where it's kind of interesting outside of that top spot.
Yeah, I mean, River Valley, they're starting to make a run. They knocked off Shelby last week. They won again this week. Pleasant towards the bottom of the standings. They're working their way back up. Now look at the logjam there, 3-2 and 2-3 now. Shelby and Ontario winners, and the Fighting Eckerts, they will be in week 11. They have officially clinched a playoff spot. Once again, shout out Joe Idle. So they sit right now in 6th in D3 Region 10. Then you go to the D4 Region 14. Shelby, they're sitting in 4th right now. They are pretty much in and at home for at least 1 week. They have a chance to do that, to get 2. Galion, they drop down to 6th right now. They still control their own destiny, though. They have some games that they can still win to get a home game. They need a lot of help if they win out to get 2 home games, though. Don't think they're going to get that, but I think they will be at Heisey Park at least for 1 week if they win out. River Valley, though, jumping all the way up after their big 38-37 victory over Highland. They scored a 2-point conversion with time running out in the fourth quarter to knock them off. That's some big points. That puts them up into the top 8. So now River Valley, they have, if they win next week, they're at home for a game as well. So those are the top teams right there. Harding and Highlands still fighting for spots, but those squads at the top, pretty much in. So you have, what, 5 or 6 of the teams already clinching spots here in week number 8.
Yeah, very exciting conference, and we thought that it was going to be kind of top heavy, but the top half for them, it's kind of bigger than most tops. So,
yeah, you don't expect teams. Now I saw River Valley at the Ontario 7-on-7 before the season. I thought they have some offensive athletes, and you show it. They have a top 4 quarterback in the passing leaders. They have a top 4 receiver in the receiving leaders. So I think they're starting to click. That's another one of those teams that they can compete with anybody, so just look out. We still have a couple more weeks left in the regular season. Does Ontario finally finish off unbeaten, or do we see something like this happen to them? I don't know. I don't think so, but that's why they play the game.
Hello. All right, we're going to move on to the Northern 10 now, Trav, and we're going to go out to Mohawk, where they've been really good, I think, so far in Sycamore. They've at least been competitive, just haven't been able to win very many games. Taking on Seneca East, it was homecoming night, so a lot at stake, a lot to play for Mohawk. And there are the king and queen. Great headgear, too. Love that. But it's actually going to be Seneca East and the Tigers with Jackson Gayhart getting in for the first points of the night. 9-yard touchdown run made it 6-zip. It's 14-0 now after Blake Foose pile drives his way in, and they would successfully get the 2-point conversion. Mohawk coming back, though, in the second quarter. 19-yard pass to the homecoming king, who dives and makes an unbelievable snag. 14-7, but as we take you to the second half, it's the Blake Foose show. He gets in and would secure another 2-point conversion, 22-7, and they would finish off the night with Taylor Young finding some space. He gets through there and goes 22 yards to the house. 30-7, the Tigers come out on top in this one. And I mentioned, Trav, that it was the Blake Foose show in the second half. Let's show you what he was able to do in this game. Pretty impressive stuff, as we'll
phenomenal,
roll his phenomenal highlights for you guys. I love seeing individual efforts, and especially on the road, anytime you can just steal the heart out of your opponent on a homecoming night. Pretty cool stuff to be able to do this.
Hey, and look, another name that's on our stats leaders, brought to you by our friends at Spitzer Motors of Mansfield. But still, Blake Foose, he can do it. He can throw it through the air when he needs to, but that is what's lethal. That running attack.
Yes.
Getting those rushing yards, getting those touchdowns as well on the ground. Fantasy owners love it when a quarterback can rush for touchdowns. You see it all over the place, and Foose is one of those guys.
And I love how we put 137-plus rushing yards out there. He may have had 138.
Unofficial, so hey, he might get a couple more, a couple less.
We just know more than 137.
Yeah. I dig that.
Very dynamic.
It's like K-Mac plus, but it's 137 plus, right?
Something like that. So the Tigers now trap 5 wins for them.
Yep.
Let's bring up those Northern 10 standings. And Cary, baby, sitting on top all by themselves.
They're still rolling.
We know who's one game back. The Eagles,
Yeah.
they're pretty darn good too. Seneca East tied with them as well, though, Travis. But you look at the schedule, and you really got to think that Cary's probably going to finish this thing off at 7-0 in the league.
Yeah, them, Crawford looking really good. Seneca East with Foose running the ball. That's looking like your top 3 right now, but I just like Cary so much. Going into the playoff ratings, Upper Sandusky, we'll start with them since they are in Division 4. Right now they're 17th. Going into the night, they needed 2 wins and help. Check off half of that. Now they're going to need some help. They're sitting in 17th. They still have to play Cary next week.
Uh-oh.
So that last year, I remember that was a shootout that Cary pulled out at the end. So can they do it again? And then Upper Sandusky gets Winford. So there's playoff points out there. They need to win one of those 2 and get some help to get in. Now moving on to Division 6, Region 22, Seneca East. 5-3, they control their own destiny. They are 10th right now. Winford, they had a tough loss to Colonel Crawford.
Oh, what a game.
Nearly pulled it out. One of the best games of the night in the area, but Crawford won. Crawford now number 2. They have clinched. They are back in it. They have a chance. They pretty much have a home game clinched out too. They went out and get some help. Crawford has 2 home games in North Robinson. Back down to Seneca East. They're pretty much in. They need a lot of help if they want to host a home game. So that's with them. And then Cary as well. Cary's clinched the playoff spot. They clinched that last week. Same thing as Colonel Crawford. They pretty much went out. They will get 2 home games. So that's the teams right now that we're looking at in the Northern 10 that still have a lot of hope. Winford, I also said, even though with the loss, they can still get into the playoffs if they win.
All right, thank you for that breakdown there, Trav. We are going to take one more commercial time out, and when we return here on the Friday Night Pigskin, it's all Came action all the time. We got 3 highlights coming up for you, plus we'll break down the conference standings for the others. We'll look at the OCC as well as the KMAC, so why wouldn't you stay here? Come on, guys.
At Knox Community Hospital, your primary care physician is more than someone who delivers your test results, more than someone who writes prescriptions, more than someone who listens to your heart. We are your healthcare partner who takes the time to know you, listen to your concerns, and provide you with expert personalized care to make and keep you well. Because to us, you're more than just numbers on a chart. You're a neighbor and a friend. Knox Community Hospital, in the community, for the community.
All right, KMAC fans, it is your time to shine, and you may remember last season when Northmor had that great, I think, perfect season going in the KMAC, and then Mount Gilead went over to their place and kind of spoiled their chances of winning a KMAC championship. So with it being homecoming night on the reservation, I think the Golden Knights fans, and certainly the players, they remember that and they wanted some revenge. Travis Barty was out there tonight in Mount Gilead, and I think maybe revenge was on the mind for Northmor, Trav.
Well, not only revenge, the next word that comes to mind is clinch. Pretty much a win for Northmor, even though it's not on Joe Idle yet. It's the statistics show that if Northmor wins this game, they're pretty much clinched a spot, and they still have a chance of hosting not only one, but maybe two playoff games. So let's just get right down to it. I'll show you the highlights. Let's start things off with the greatest play in all of sports, the field goal. Jacopo Magistri kicks it from 37. It's 7-3 after a Northmor touchdown, but the Golden Knights were rolling on offense in the first half. Carson Campbell scores. Next Indians possession, they're forced to punt, and it doesn't go to plan. Paul Kramer blocks it. And then on the very next play, A.J. Bauer is going to throw it up to who else? Mr. Touchdown, Jax Wenger. High point in another one. It's 21-3 after one. Then in the second quarter, it's big play Bo. Bo Landon hauls it in and goes 50 to the house. 28-3 at the break. And then Caleb Chenier adds on another one of the greatest plays in sports, a 36-yarder in the second half. And that is your scoring as the Golden Knights avenge that loss from last season, 31-3, Brian. And it was just, from the start, a great offensive performance by the Golden Knights in the first half. It seemed like they could not be stopped. And then the defense doing things once again, the Golden Knights forcing another turnover. I think it's the 21st turnover forced this season. But another impressive game. This is a guy that got his first MVP of the season tonight because he wanted to give it to his wide receivers, his playmakers, but it was A.J. Bauer, and that is our phenom from this game. Bauer, it wasn't huge numbers for him, but it was consistency. He completed, I think, 7 of 8 passes in the first half, something like that. But he ended up 158 passing yards and 3 touchdowns in the game, and that really made the difference. And he did it mostly in the first half. Second half, they were changing things up. They had they had a couple players that were out in the second half, and the wide receivers, they had some new guys in there, so he was trying to, get on that Wi-Fi with them. But 158 passing yards, 3 touchdowns is your phenom, A.J. Bauer, Brian. And this team, they are just clicking right now offensively as they have clinched a playoff spot, I believe, Brian. And they still have 2 games left at home. And there is A.J. Bauer's highlights for a couple of those plays. You just let your wide receivers go. A little screen here, screen there to get it. But also he has the big play, as that is the blocked punt that will set up this big touchdown once again. He can drop a dime in there as well, Brian. I mean, that is a perfectly thrown ball to a guy he knows can high point it right there. Touchdown, Jax Wenger. He did it to Bo Landon as well. And again, one of those nice little outs. It may not look pretty. It may look like, okay, 2 or 3 yards, but that helps when you have a running attack. Go for 4 or 5 yards a game. You get 2, 3, 4 yards off of that, and then it just lures in the defense to go for the big play right there. Bo Landon, A.J. Bauer, Bo Landon, Jax Wenger, Hunter Falk. Then you have the running backs. It's just a great hookup there for A.J. Bauer and for the Golden Knights that are going to be playing in week number 11, Brian.
Yeah, congratulations to them. And since we do have Mason Kidwell sitting in with us, the K-Mac Plus, I'm curious, where do you feel like AJ fits in terms of the hierarchy of the K-Mac at just that position? Is he the best in the league? Maybe number 2? What do you feel for AJ?
I feel like it's definitely safe to say top 3, but then you kind of get into specifics where like each quarterback is good at a different thing, and so I guess it comes down to how you want to compare that as your person,
Interesting. As a pure thrower, do you feel like AJ may be top dog?
He might be.
He's got some pretty nice touch out there and a lot of weapons, as Travis talked about. Speaking of weapons, we've got a utility knife joining us right now from out there in Mount Vernon at the Naz. And this gentleman at the heart of Ohio tonight, where Centerburg, the defending K-Mac champions, it looks like they've got some competition, of course, and a new heir to the throne in Danville coming into their place. So we'll welcome in Jonathan Langdon, who called the game for us tonight. And this game on paper, I think there was a lot to like, Jonathan, but by the end of the night, there was only one fan base that really enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, and it was Danville going into the heart of Ohio and taking the hearts out of Centerburg. And really just a dominant performance for Danville, putting up a 30-point win. It honestly could have been even more than that. You had a running clock in the second half. Let's get these highlights. So it's looking at Centerburg. It's their senior night, and Danville, like I said, looking to break some hearts, and they do it early. Walker Wickesser with the touchdown to make it 8-0. They were going for 2 the entire game. And then Jesse Rings trying to get something going. This is the first play of their first drive. He gets the fumble, and then ultimately the next play after that, you see Coldelatter's first touchdown, another touchdown there to make it 22-0. And Centerburg wouldn't strike until the first play of the second quarter, and Trevin Harris gets a touchdown there. Nice link up with Jesse Rings, but Danville just go right back to scoring more touchdowns. There's a pair of Coldelatter touchdowns. That's now 3 on the game. Going to the second half, at this point, it's a running clock, but Jesse Rings still getting his guy, Trevin Harris, some nice touches, gets a pass there to the end zone. Coldelatter, how about we just get one more touchdown just because he feels like it. 4 touchdowns, 52-22 the final, and Danville really putting on a show in the KMAC, and they've got 2 more weeks, but pretty much you can book it for the KMAC. Danville's got it.
Yeah, we just wanted to get Mason's reaction on that one because I think he agrees. Of course, Danville is the best team in the league. But in your personal estimation, what sets them apart? Because they've got so many weapons. They're good up front. Jonathan, what would you say impressed you the most about Danville tonight?
Don't get me wrong. They've got fantastic skill players, and they're going to be big in the playoffs. But my color commentator is a little biased. He's a blocking tight end, a former blocking tight end for the Norwalk Truckers, and he sat down with me right after the game, and he said that O-line was amazing. They were the run block in this game. Coldelatter, it said in our post-game interview, he barely got touched in this one, and that was all credit to the offensive line. And that is just going to be a testament, and that is what's going to drive Danville in the state tournament.
So Centerburg, on the flip side of this, they're playing against an absolute bear and a monster, so a little bit outmatched. However, this is a team sitting at 500 right now and definitely going to get into the playoffs, we think, with some wins down the stretch here, Jonathan. So what do you feel like their potential is once they get out of league play and we do get into the postseason?
Well, the good news for them is Kalen Lemaster dressed and played in this game. While his role wasn't necessarily too huge in this one, but they're starting to ease him in, and I was glad to see that they weren't rushing to get him in against Danville. So he'll be ready to go for these next 2 weeks, some big matchups for them coming up ahead. I saw Centerburg in their region. They're 15 right now at 4-4. So it's going to be an uphill battle, and I think Centerburg, they've got the offensive pieces. The defense is the question mark for me. Danville I know Danville's Danville, but I just felt like it was a little too easy out there for the Blue Devils.
All right, that's Jonathan Langdon from down at the NAS, called the game for us tonight. Well, what's on the menu for you this weekend? Big plans for a college kid, or keeping it low key?
Well, we've just got MVNU Sports. I'm going to be calling women's soccer tomorrow.
All right, man. So you can catch him on the call down there too. Jonathan Langdon, thanks for the time, pal.
Thank you.
All right, one more highlight to go in game action tonight.
What conference is it at? I wonder. KMAC, maybe.
So we're going to head down to one of the most exciting places on earth, that being Chet Looney Stadium, and already my ears are ringing. They were hosting Fredericktown tonight, and East Knox trying to stay in a position where potentially in that Devil Dog matchup they could play spoiler. So we'll show you some highlights, shall we? Let's do it.
The night on homecoming night.
First half.
Handoff to Elliott, pushes
No
all the way
scoring
in
the first quarter. So we take you to the second here, where it's Blake Elliott, just 1 yard. That's all I needed to get 7 points on the board. Later on, it's a 6-yard touchdown run. This is from Jax Lester to make it 14-zip. And we will fast forward you now all the way to the third quarter, where it's Blake Elliott, this time from 10 yards out. Looking pretty easy right there. 21-0. Hey, let's add 7 more. It's 28-zip as Brayson Davis skies for the catch off the nice setup there from Lester. And then Elliott one more time. He's going to burst in, virtually untouched, in a little high step as East Knox rolls tonight at home. Shutout, 35-zip. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I feel like the Bulldogs, don't they got like 3 shutouts this season? This team with Coach Andy Beatty, I think their calling card is defense, and they proved tonight. Mason, you've seen them in person. Outside of Danville, and then we saw Northmor kind of take care of business against East Knox, though. But do you really like what you've seen from the Bulldogs? Because I think, what did they put up, 4 goose eggs so far this season defensively?
They've put up quite a few. I'm loving what East Knox is looking like right now. I think they kind of had like a fluke year last year with finishing second to last in the KMAC, and I think they've really exceeded expectations for me this year.
I think that I would tend to agree with that. We saw a down year last year. They have their stud running back transfer to Danville, their rival, and I think that maybe the sky was falling a little bit over Howard. They downplayed it a little bit, but it's been kind of a resurgent type of East Knox season, and still some young kids on the roster. That's what I really like, but especially, let's show you our phenom from the night, Jax Lester. This dude, because he's able to do it as a dual threat, as you talked about, Travis, and those fantasy owners don't know if there's too many people out there playing KMAC fantasy football, but if there are, you like the throwing ability, and you definitely like the runs.
This is a fun team. A sneaky fun team because you didn't know what you were going to expect from this squad after last year, like we said. But they're coming back out. They're playing East Knox football. And guess what? They're pretty much clinching a playoff spot once again. It says on Joe Adel they control their own destiny, but it's so close that they are probably going to be in. And you never know. That Danville game, they win next week, it could give them a home game if they win out. I'm saying East Knox isn't going to be just one of those slouches for Danville. I think Danville's still highly favored in that game, but it's a rivalry. There's a lot of storylines in the way they're playing right now with the rushing attack. Jax Lester, if he gets it going a little bit more, I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll have to see. However, I think the folks in Howard are going to see a Week 11 this year.
Well, one thing I know, KMAC fans, they love getting in on the phenom in the top play, so let's give some foreshadowing. Let's show you the top play from this game from tonight. Check this out.
What a pattern.
It's a dot.
Run pattern.
It's a catch. It's all in stride, getting behind the defense. Kind of like it.
I just like the pattern that Brayson Davis ran. A little stutter step. It got the corner to bite. And a beautifully thrown ball over 3 defenders. That's what East Knox needs to do to open up that rushing attack a little bit more. And then you get a little hug from the AD there in the background as well, which is awesome. Shout out to him. Great guy. But this, again, if you're peaking at the right time, you're getting things going in weeks 8, 9, and 10, and you make it into the playoffs, who knows what could happen. I don't know if East Knox has what it takes to make a run, but maybe, they get into Week 11, get a win there. That's momentum going into next year.
And what you like, too, about that top play of the week is that they ran that right after a turnover, so that's usually what they say coaches like to do, is just really capitalize on that momentum.
Yeah,
all right, let's show you the KMAC standings now. And Danville, we know they're in the driver's seat. They're the lone undefeated remaining in the conference, but Northmor 1 game back, and then East Knox, as we were just talking about, they get an opportunity to take on Danville in Week 10 if they can take care of business in Week 9.
Northmor fans are rooting for the Bulldogs there in week number 10, but Northmor still has to take care of Centerburg, and we'll see if Kalen Master is a piece in there, or did Kalen just play because, played for senior night or something like that? I don't know, but if he's in the game plan, well, that's something that Northmor is going to have to go against because they've given up some rushing yards this year. East Knox, like we said, they win, sets up the big Devil Dog game. Fredericktown still playing for something as well, and Loudonville, I would think, too. Fredericktown right now, 14th in their region. They're pretty much in with 2 wins. So they won. They lost tonight. No, they won.
No, they lost.
They lost. They need to win out. They need to win. Freddie, there's so many scenarios going through my head right now.
Yeah, 0 in the league.
Yeah, they're 0 in the league, so they have Fredericktown has to win out in order to get into the playoffs. Centerburg as well, we said they were 15th. They don't control their own destiny. They need to win out and get some help if they want to get in. Loudonville, their win probably will get them in if they win out, but they have to beat Northmor at Northmor. That's going to be a tough test for them. If not, 2 wins in help will work out. Well, 1 win now in help will work out. Then we get up to those top 3. I think East Knox is in Division 6, Region 23 with the Northmor Golden Knights. Northmor sits in 4th right now in their region. East Knox sitting there in 7th. East Knox wins out. They will host a playoff game. Northmor, they're in. Next week a win probably gets them in the top 8 if they win out and get some help. They will be hosting Danville. They've already clinched a home game. They've clinched a playoff spot, and I think they get a little bit of help. They don't need a ton of help in Region 25 and D7. They're sitting in 2nd right now, but there's 5 teams right now fighting for those 4 spots. Malvern, Danville, Doughton, Springfield of New Middletown that Team Carey beat in the state semifinal a couple years ago. Yeah. And then Berlin Center Western Reserve, not our Western Reserve, but the other Western Reserve. There's like 7 of them in Ohio. Those are the teams that are fighting for 4 playoff spots. But I think Danville winning out will get one of those 4 in the first 2 weeks. We'll be going through Danville, and then a couple regional sites will probably be close as well.
Exciting stuff. We're getting down the home stretch now, so every game so crucial. All the bonus points and all the factors for the playoffs. Yeah. It's all real now at this point in the season. And we've got the scores floating up over here, though. But we'll show you the OCC standings. And how about the Madison Rams?
I was about to say, how about the Rams? Not only a win, a shutout on the road.
Let's go Rams.
Tim Nicewander, who's back in coaching football at Madison, put a big old picture of the scoreboard up. He's like, this is why I came back. Saying bye-bye to Mount Vernon in a way. I know Adam Thompson's squad leaving the conference. Well, they're getting kind of kicked in the keister there because they are now tied at the basement with Madison. But the head-to-head would put them into the bottom of the basement. So congratulations to Madison. Hey, big win for you. Maybe you try and build on that, but then you get Mansfield Senior in Week 10, so I don't think. Ooh. Speaking of Mansfield Senior, they've clinched a playoff spot. They are in the top. They are in the top 4 right now. They are currently in 4th behind Tiffin Columbian, Norton, and Toledo Central Catholic. They're fighting with Ontario and Rocky River and Medina Buckeye as well for the top 4. Mansfield Senior is going to be at Arlen Field with that brand new scoreboard and everything for week number 11. We'll just see if they can win enough, if they can get enough points, because that Madison game, week number 10, not going to get them a lot of bonus points. Beating Worcester tonight helps them out, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get 2 just because of who they have left. New Philadelphia, they got a win over Lexington tonight. That'll give them some bonus points. West Holmes, they're probably home as well with their win. They get 2 home games if they win out, so they have some bonus points coming up for them. Ashland, they are in with 1 win and some help coming up. So if Ashland can win out, they'll be in for sure, but if they win 1, they will be in with help after their loss to West Holmes tonight. Lexington, they need to finish out with 2 wins to get help, but they needed tonight against New Philadelphia to get those bonus points. Mount Vernon, they're out now. That not only tough loss to Madison, but it just booted them out of the playoffs.
Good night.
And Worcester also, Mansfield Senior, pretty much knocked them out. They're going to need a lot of help if they win their last 2 games. I think I can breathe now.
Whew, that's the playoff picture in the OCC and from all the conferences that we cover. So great job tonight, Travis, for keeping us all up to date and let us know who's in, who's out, who's hot, who's not, who's got to do some big things. And it's going to get even just more cloudy as we get into week 9. And then maybe we'll start, hemming up a few ends, though, in week 10.
I forgot one thing. We're talking K-Mac. Mason, what's your rankings after tonight? I know Danville's on top, but Northmor 2, East Knox 3, what we got?
Northmor 2, East Knox 3. Centerburg, I'm going to put in at 4 for right now. 5, I'm going to go Fredericktown. 6, Loudonville. 7, Mount Gilead. And then 8th, Cardington.
There you go. And also shout out to Mason's grandma. Saw her in a K-Mac Plus shirt down at Mount Gilead. She said hello to the crew too. But
getting that swag. We're still waiting on ours, Mason. Don't worry.
The unveiling of the Week 8 K-Mac Plus rankings right here on the Pigskin.
As we like to do, breaking news, and I want the final word on tonight's show, gentlemen, because 15 years ago today, I did something pretty spectacular. Well, I feel like my wife did most of the work, actually, but
pretty much.
My beautiful daughter came into this world. That is my kid. Woo! What a stunner, my goodness. Quit wearing those dresses and the makeup and all the jewelry. Daddy is, man, I got tears forming in my eyes. But a big happy birthday to Aaliyah, who does get to play her rival in Lexington. She's at Ontario now tomorrow on the soccer pitch. Travis, you and I are going to be over there to be the out-of-control fans that she's been missing all season long.
Vuvuzelas and everything.
I cannot wait for that. So, Aaliyah, baby girl,
happy birthday.
Embarrass you tomorrow, as we do all the time. And you're welcome for the embarrassing gifts that we sent over to Ontario High School today. The grins just keep on coming. But that's going to do it for this Week 8 edition of the Pigskin. We still got 5 more episodes coming up, though. So we're past the midway point, but tons of action still remaining. So we'll see you right back here. Same bad place, same bad channel. So long, knuckleheads.